Time, 7:15. I want to welcome everyone and thank you for taking the time to come to our meeting tonight. It's obviously a very, very important meeting in my mind that we've kind of got ourselves in a little bit of a mess, but I think we, working together, can make a great future for Big Tree. I'd just like to see the meeting be as positive oriented as we can in dealing with the specific solutions. I wanted to thank Carol Schaap, for our videographer, for videoing the meeting, and we want to keep our questions primarily on the topics at hand because they're so very important and not go wandering all over the place. So we'll have our primary question and answer session at the end of the meeting. However, if a speaker on a topic approves, or the chair to have questions in between, then that would be okay as well. The first thing I want to do is confirm a quorum of the meeting. The big problem came up when our seven-member board was whittled down to 2, and we didn't have a quorum, and there were a number of issues involved in making that happen, which I hope we can talk about and have a plan to resolve today. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the new members. My name's Larry Kahn, and I'm the president of Big Tree Association. Chester Brown, who's been a member right along. The board is appointed, according to the bylaws, 5 other members to serve on the 217 board. The first is Louis Lira over here. And Louis has been the vice president, and some time ago he agreed to join the board again as vice president. He's been working very, very hard on the RFP for looking at the whole management issue, and he'll be joining us. Adrienne Biber has agreed to come back as our secretary, and we want to welcome her. Dan Hoffman will be our treasurer. His wife Donna is here. Dan has recently had a knee replacement, but he'll be up in action in the very near future. Dan has got an outstanding background. He was the former president of the, what do they call it, the Ramsgate community here in Big Tree, a big community. So he's got a lot of awesome experience on HOAs and how to effectively run them. So we welcome Dan and Donna as part of our team. Joshua Manning will be welcome back to the board meeting. He's not here yet. And Carol Schaap, who's our videographer, is joining us as our 7th board member. So welcome to our new team. We have a full 217 board team now, so we don't have to worry about that. The second part is reading of the minutes of the last meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have a board quorum or a legal meeting, or a secretary, so there are really no board meeting minutes to read for today. President's report. I'd like to keep it relatively brief and just summarize some key issues. A few owners have recently complained about my talking too much at board meetings, and I agree with them. What they don't realize is that in some of the recent board meetings, in the August 2016 board meeting, in the September 2016 board meeting, and in the November 2016 board meeting, I was the only board member that was here, so it's pretty hard to avoid talking. But today we got a full board team, and so that's not going to be a problem.
Wait a minute. You need my concurrence on this.
We've already concurred with the members. Everybody has been advised of it.
Does
We've all
anybody want to
agreed.
run for the board?
Pardon?
Right now, does anybody indicate anybody here wants to be on the board?
I think there were other people that volunteered to be on the board that were not selected.
Anybody here right now want to be on the board?
If Larry will resign, I'll be on the board.
And then we'll all resign.
All right, I don't think you're any affirmative on my board.
Okay, thank you. So we have 7 board members, and we're all set in their area. A couple of misconceptions that I'd like to clear up that's been talked about. The first one is that I've been totally opposed to the MSA and standing in the way of it. Want to somehow be a dictator and run it by myself. That is absolutely, totally false. The only thing I have been opposed to is to Big Tree's making a commitment before we actually did our homework, do our due diligence, to make sure we were going to effectively be able to carry out the plan and comply, and also knowing what the cost would be, that would be affordable for Big Tree. That position was also consistent with the advice of our attorney, Sean Burrell, who advised us that legally it would be very, very dangerous to make a commitment without knowing the specifics of exactly how it's going to be done and whether it can be affordable. So, as I said, Louis Lear has been working very hard the last couple of months and will provide some more details. We've made a lot of progress on this and come a long way, and I think we have some great conclusions or things to share with you. Second misconception and concern I like to propose is the idea that if we just solve the MSA and add some board members and fix up our insurance, somehow all Big Tree problems are solved for good. And I frankly think that's totally false. I think there are some additional issues and problems that have plagued Big Tree for a number of years. The biggest one being the contentious environment between homeowners and boards, between one board and another, personal attacks, arguments, lawsuits, threats. A whole lot of money has been spent on lawyers and arguing and doing all this crazy stuff that has taken away from Big Tree and caused it to be in the state of disrepair that it got itself in.
I'd like to issue a point of order here. I think we ought to get on with the new business and get this RFP.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Go ahead.
So, you know, any homeowner who's lived at Big Tree any amount of time knows there's been a lot of problems. And the only thing I want to say is that we need to change the attitude and the environment. I remember one of our long-term homeowners that spoke up on 2 different occasions, 2 years apart at board meetings on this very issue. In 2015, at a very, very contentious, argumentative board meeting, she stood up and made a comment about how if we're ever going to succeed as an association, we have to learn how to work together and stop blaming each other. We have to forget about our anger from past experiences, and we have to move forward. She got a standing ovation from that, from the homeowners in attendance. 2 years later, in January of this year, we had a special board meeting at the pavilion shortly after the election. Turned out to be a pretty, unpleasant, contentious environment, and she stood up again and quoted a Bible verse and said, "Every kingdom divided itself will be ruined, and every city or household," and you could add HOA there, "divided itself will not stand or prosper." And I really and said that unless we forget our anger and we move forward and learn how to work together, we're never going to be the community that we can be. And I just want to say that I concur with that sentiment 100%. I just hope that, we can, starting today, start working in a positive direction. We got some problems. They're solvable problems. We got a great community. We had a good start on making things a whole lot better, and I think we can continue in that vein. So I ask your cooperation in that. Next is the treasurer's report, and I'll be very brief on that. It was in your handouts. Bottom line is, you know, we ended up at the end of 2016 at $62,000 cash balance. Our projection was $60,000, so just a couple $1,000s better. We spent $58,769 on building repairs. So we did an awful lot of work in that area.
Question, Larry. And looking at the report, I don't see any expenditures for building 40.
It's not question time yet,
Oh,
and that's not on the agenda, so.
well, it will be in the question period. That's your building.
Okay.
I want to issue another point of order. I want to get to the facts of the RFP, and I don't like to see this getting into a situation where a lot of confusion is occurring. Okay, so for us to concentrate on what that RFP is all about, you're going to get weary listening.
Chuck, we had an agenda, you're not running the meeting, let's move forward with the agenda. We need to cover the finances, we'll do it in a very short minute, we'll move forward with the agenda. We currently have as of 2/28/2017, a cash balance of $98,360 and a current total asset of $108,703. So, you know, that's up somewhat. In terms of our actual spending, it's broken down both for the current period and for the year-to-date. We were $2,000 better than below our administrative costs, and our $5,700 below our budget administrative costs for the first 2 months. This month we spent $3,279 more on overall building and grounds, and that's primarily, I'm blamed for doing a lot of things without approval because we fixed some major leaks in a lot of buildings. Lewis has got the work order information, but it was important that we solved leak problems and we take care of safety and emergency problems. So we had quite a few of them. Overall, for the 2 months, we're $16,835 plus to the budget. So that looks very, very good. So we'll, moving forward, let's get in, as Chester is indicating, to the RFP. And again, Lewis has been working on that for some time. Shared a lot of information with our board, but let me turn it over to Lewis.
First and foremost, I want to thank you all for coming out here today. I applaud you. I mean, this is the largest audience that I've been part of since I've been a resident or an owner here at Bigtree. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to listen to where we are today relative to the request for proposal, short RFP, that we've been working on and sent out to various property management companies so that they would have the opportunity to understand what our goals are at Bigtree, what our needs are, and to bid on the proposal. Now, this is copies of the RFP. This RFP was posted on our website in February. It was issued in February with a request and a timetable in the back of the RFP for the participants that wanted to bid on the contract to have all their proposals into us by the end of March. They met their goals, they gave us a proposal. Now, as part of the RFP, I went out and I researched 6 different companies. And these are different companies with all sorts of variations in property management. some dedicated to property management, others doing property management, but they're also realtors. So that kind of combination doesn't always work in the perfect world, because the realty side of the house has a tendency to overrun the property management side. You're losers there as a homeowner. So as part of that evaluation, we went out to 6 different companies. 4 of those companies responded. Now this RFP I will give to...
Which 4 companies? Which 4 companies?
I'm getting into that. So if you would hold your questions until my presentation is over, I'd gladly answer any questions you might have after I go through it. This RFP I will give to Adrian. This is the official copy for the record that went out from the RFP. And again, the respondent companies, here we have one from Magnolia Properties. That's the response to that proposal. Obviously very inadequate, because it's a realtor that's trying to break into the business. This is a response from the CAM team. It's an 8-page contract. It is not a response to the RFP. The RFP was very specific. And one thing I want to say before I go any further with the RFP, that RFP was put together with a lot of guidance between myself and Bill Casper relative to putting together a bunch of line items in there that had to be addressed. Portions of a referendum that he had put together are included in that RFP as part of an enclosure one. There are deliverables as part of that RFP that state we need to have documentation for work order closure status, work order open status on a monthly basis. So all that is in that RFP. If you haven't read it or seen it on the website, I do encourage you to go look at it. That's a very important document. So this is 2 of the 4 companies, the CAM and Magnolia Properties. Signature Realty Management Company, which is right down the street from us on Hartley Road, they gave us a 27-page dossier plus a proposal and responded very well to the elements of the RFP. And then the other company, which is a much larger company, and their sole purpose in life is property management, was Leland Enterprises. Okay? Now, Leland Enterprises have over 400 different properties that they deal with, 300 employees. So we went out to them and they all responded. Now, as part of the process, I put together a selection matrix. And what I'll do is I'll give you a little handout and we'll go through the status. I have to apologize up front in that I didn't anticipate the crowd being this large. So I may not have...
Maybe ask for hands if people will share.
They can share, yeah. So whoever can share, please do so. It's important that you all get the information. Now, we will post this also on the website. So if you didn't get a copy by chance, it will be on the website. So if you can just pass that around.
Definitely give the person that doesn't have a website.
Pass that around. And again, if you can share, please share. All right, so regarding the RFP, now I have attention, please. Don't get ahead of me on the presentation, because I want to make it flow for you and give you whatever explanation I can in detail. But in regard to the RFP, we were requested to go out and seek a management company that was a full-service management company. And what that means is that's a management company that would take all the responsibility of going out and contracting vendors and contractors in various disciplines to be able to exercise repair. You need a plumber, they'll go out and get 3 bids, get a plumber, you need an electrician, so on and so forth. And the idea behind the full-service management company was to take the board out of the process of going to individual vendors and contractors, some that they may know or somebody that they worked with before. So this process that we're working on now, the board of directors become an advisory staff. They are overseers of projects. Those projects will be identified in a maintenance plan. Now, the maintenance plan that we're going to identify for the selected property management company will be based on previous work that was done at Victory by several of the homeowners here that put together a maintenance plan, albeit not in total, but the maintenance plan did cover how do we handle scheduled maintenance, things that we know are going to go wrong, roof, siding, coquina, down, whatever that happens to be. That's all scheduled, that's known. But anything that's unknown goes through the work order process. And that starts with the homeowner. The homeowner calls the CAM, they initiate a work order, and then that work order is tracked so that we have visibility as board members to track those work orders. Now, in the past, we have not had a system in Victory that adequately tracks those work orders. And subsequently, what's happened is a lot of frustration on the homeowner. Constantly. I mean, I can tell you today, I've got a work order open that's now affecting a new neighbor of mine that's been open for over a year. Okay, so needless to say, that's unsatisfactory. So there's three things I'm going to cover: the work order process, the RFP process itself, the management company selection criteria, because we're not pulling rabbits out of the hat here. And what we're trying to do is logically take the emotion out. Who do we select to be our partner, our management company that's going to work with this board? Okay. And lastly, I want to talk about where I believe, personally, we are in compliance with the mediation settlement agreement, or the so-called MSA. Right? So on the second page, one of the things that the MSA required that the board of directors of Victory go out and solicit 3 management companies for full service management. I went up to 6. The Leland Management Associates was one, the CAM was one, Signature Realty, and Magnolia Properties, all of which responded. 2 declined, Condominium Concepts, and they declined because their portfolio manager was up to their ears in property, and they couldn't take on another, or at least that's what they told me. And then the Lighthouse Association Management declined because they're more towards Florida Center to the west. They're not on the east side. But they did, and that's a very good company, by the way, but they did give us a referral for Leland Enterprises, which were part of the group. Now, the RFP was designed to attack 3 different areas. Be a full-service property management company. There's a 1-year contract with a 1-year option to renew, because we're going into uncharted grounds. We don't want to sign a company up for 2 years and then have to swallow our pride along the way. So that's not the way we do business. All right, so the proposal timeline again went out in February. The response date came back in March. The board of directors review process, now that there is a board of directors group, will now begin to analyze the proposal. I have already analyzed all the proposals, and I will make my recommendations to the rest of the team, but not before they've had the opportunity to read every one of these documents, which they have in their hands. And that's every one of the responses. So we're looking to have a contract awarded May 1st. And the effectivity date will be a transition period between our new camp, or if it happens to be the same camp, but assuming it's a new camp, the transition period will take place the 1st of June to the 30th of June, which is the expiration date of the current contract. That way, there's no interruption. Okay? This particular page here, the 3rd page, has a matrix design. And down the left side of the matrix is a series of questions we'll ask ourselves: what's the experience of the management company? What type of a staff do they have? What's the cost? How much are they charging us? And that matrix is there's a sister matrix that goes on to this that makes that evaluation. You know, X number of dollars for each of the 4 proposals. And then as part of this, we'll rate them. And the best will get a 1, everybody else will get a 0. And once we tally it all the way across, then we'll have a good idea that we have looked at this without any emotional attachment to it. And it's done by just logically, did they respond to the proposal the way we wanted? Well, I showed you a 1-page response. That answer was no, that's a big fat 0. Okay? So we'll do it that way, and we'll go through. Now, once that process is complete, and by the way, this meeting today is the first stage of the process to inform you what it is that we will be recommending based on the analysis that we're doing. The second stage will be after the 2 companies have been down-selected from the 4 that responded, which will be after our board members have the opportunity to review and make their own judgment. Then at that time, we will bring in the 2 companies that we down-selected to. And then you will have an opportunity to give your input at that point to those 2 company representatives that will come and talk about their company, and we're just trying to win you over, right? It's a sales pitch.
Luis,
Nothing.
may I make a suggestion? If you-
Well, hold your question till the end. if you
Well,
could.
it has to do with the
I know,
selection
but
of the
I'm
companies.
specifically,
You'll be first.
if you can, you'll be number 1. You're the only one that asked. So let me just go through this thing, and then we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, the last page of the proposal, the last page of the proposal, or presentation here, it talks about the mediation settlement agreement. Now, just quickly, that mediation settlement agreement had to, one of the elements of it was that it named a contractor slash company that was deemed to be overcharging Victory, and then there was some reimbursement that was made so that those overcharges were rectified. That was part of the settlement agreement. As part of the settlement agreement, the then board of directors, whoever they may have been, hire a full service property management company. That didn't happen, right? And the management company would be responsible for building the grounds, collecting the assessment, and maintenance of all documents in accounting matters. Verbatim from the MSA, right? Property management proposal process, again, we did call for it, going out to 3 groups, we went out to 6. And down selected 2, which is where we are at this stage of the game right now, is trying to get to selecting 2. And then the open meeting HOA presentation, allowing homeowners then to decide, or at least have input or understanding, number 1, who are we trying to go after as a management company, and can you have the opportunity to ask your questions to their representatives? So that was, in a nutshell, where we believe the RFP process is complying with the intent of the MSA. So, having said all that, I've exhausted myself.
Okay, you know, when you've been speaking to these companies, did you actually get any of the names of the properties that they manage already? Did you go to those properties and speak to
doing that
board
now.
members or residents in those communities and see if they're satisfied with the companies?
Well, each, put it this way, 2 of the respondents gave us references, 2 did not. Leland gave us 3 references, the properties that they manage, that are within a look there, and Signature gave us 3 references. And my intention is to personally talk to people in those developments, the people that are managing it, to tell me, or I will ask them a series of pretty separate questions that are important to us, and what they're engaged their
Are you going to
satisfaction
speak to
level.
the board members or the residents?
I'm going to speak to the individuals that they identify as contacts. I want to know who they are and what their allegiance are. Right now, I don't know. But I will.
And you're gonna go to the community personally?
No, I will not visit that community.
Well, I mean, I would think that'd be pretty essential to go there and see, you know, how does it look?
Well, that's a good point. Okay, well, let's go with that and follow up on that. Is that okay with you?
I mean, I'm thinking from my perspective, that would be the thing to do. I go to numerous townhome and condo communities in Jacksonville every week, and I see the condition they're in, or if they look good, if they look bad, or...
She goes to New York.
We'll add that
You
as
can
a
tell
requirement.
me.
We'll add that as a requirement from the homeowner to go visit the groups that can help you with roads. Alright, we'll do that. Okay.
Lucky to be part of that.
I'm not on the board, Chuck.
But if you don't have to be on board, you serve.
You know,
So,
I'd be happy
now
to
I'd like to entertain
whatever
further
communities
questions
they
from
can.
anyone else in the audience that they might have regarding the RFP process, where we are, what we've done today, and where we believe we would like to go. And as I mentioned, the next meeting, we will have the 2 down-selected company representatives here to talk to you. And if there are additional questions, because a lot of times you won't know what to ask right now, but you get home and start having a cup of tea and a coffee, and you realize, gee, I should have asked this, that, the other, this.
I know there's a big concern over self-governing part of the self-management and what do we turn over to the management companies. And in terms of the cost for the job and the service, have you figured out where you're allocating in terms of duties procedures within the management company that you want allocated to meet the MSA agreement? What are you coming up with an overall cost,
Better than what we have now.
which is?
Well, right now, the proposal bid from our current company is the highest. Okay? And the reason I won't give you a cost is because the board of directors have not had the opportunity to do the analysis.
So we're still working on
But what we are, it's part of my matrix, and the cost is an element that we have on here across the top, but cost isn't always what it may seem to be. I'll give you an example. One of the contracts, great cost up front, but it's what they call a base cost. And then they have what I call leader costs. And that means that if there's a project that exceeds $10,000, they want a 5% layout on each project over $10,000. Well, guess what that does? That adds to what your yearly cost is. So that very attractive, that low bidder may not be the best game in town. But it's a good question. It's a good question.
totally agree with
What
you.
do you see the board's role as a team, as the, everybody a team?
Excellent question.
And how do you see
Okay.
this?
First, we have to start with a vision, our maintenance plan. And the maintenance plan that I talked about developing is a maintenance plan that we're not going to develop, but we're going to contribute to. And the contribution comes from the folks that have put the initial maintenance plan together, maybe 2 boards ago, all right, on worst case scenario buildings to those conway buildings. We have talked to, and I sat down with those management groups that I believe are the ones who should down select to, and I interviewed them. And one of the things that I told them was that you got the ball. You will come up with an independent study of every building in this facility, and you will tell me which is the worst and which is the ones that can just build out their building. Now, from that standpoint, there are going to be a series of projects that come out of there for each building. One project might be roof replacement. Another project might be siding replacement. Maybe it's a roof that was already done, or maybe it is siding. These projects will be sent out for bid by the management company. they would solicit 3 bidders. And then that solicitation will have a statement of work that has already been reviewed with the board of directors. Now, if they go out for a particular building for siding, then one board of director is going to be charged as the project manager for that project. So the company goes out, they'll get a proposal, they'll submit it to the project manager, and the project manager sells it to the rest of the board members. And that's the process.
So it's not going to be, we're going to take the impartial.
Again.
It's going to be an impartial.
That's the intent. That's the intent. Yes, sir.
Will the new management company be informed by the board which buildings have 20-plus year old roofs still on them?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, there's several things that we, as board members, will have to provide to the management company, because they're coming in here blind, right? They need to know, what are the contractors that we've used in the last 2 years, as an example?
I'm more concerned about them knowing where you are on schedule of maintenance, and it's not.
Exactly. That's part of the maintenance plan that we will co-develop with them. We will provide them the data. As I mentioned earlier, the surveys that were done by the previous board members, we will turn that over to them and work with them so that they will go on and get an independent study and validate what the original survey was. Because that survey's changed over time. Yes, ma'am.
How long of a turnaround are you talking about going through this process? I mean, someone puts in a work order and it has to go through this process. Are you talking?
Work orders, remember the maintenance plan is the total document. It's a complete maintenance footprint for Big Street. There are 2 elements to it. One is the plan, known work that has to be done. Roof, siding, and paint. The other one is the variable. That happens when it happens. So when the work order is developed, we need a systematic process by which we can track that work order, we being the management company, right? And if that'll be a project for one of the board members to ensure that they're tracking open work orders. And they're also tracking closed work orders, because part of this proposal, as I mentioned earlier, is metric driven. So if I have work orders that on average stay open for 4 months, that's not very good. You know, I'm looking for something better than that. Yes, sir.
Help me understand, I understand the work order situation. When you have them open-ended, it's usually because there's not enough funds to complete the work order to get it accomplished, so you do a priority first, which is worst-case scenario, closings of homes.
In the last year and a half, the work orders that I've seen processed and closed were not driven by funding at all. They were
Well,
not.
then why aren't the work, mine's been up, this is just what I'm
Mine's been
questioning.
open a year.
So that's what
I
I'm
can't
asking.
speak to that because it's a process that's being managed
Yeah, and it's not to
by
challenge
him,
this.
and it's not working. I acknowledge that, it is not working.
So
Now,
are
here's
we
what I'll tell you.
agreement?
One of the, and this is very important because it's part of the review process. One of the 2 companies that I'm going to propose that we down select has a fully automated system for tracking the work order. When it's called in, it's assigned a number. The response is given back via email to the homeowner. That work order is then scheduled. They go out, get their contractors in place, get that work order done. Then there's an invoice that's associated with the electronic system. Now, it's a Microsoft-based system called Calendar. It is not an Excel spreadsheet. Right? So any company comes to you and says, oh, we'll provide you an Excel spreadsheet. Well, that's not a work order tracking system. Right, exactly. So one of them has that, and that's going to be a plus for that company. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's my understanding from the last meeting that the orders are prioritized by how important they are. I mean, that the roof situations come first. And that I would raise the concern that there are little jobs that occur. The homeowners sit for years without them being taken care of, where one maintenance man can come and in 1 hour fix it. And I don't understand why we can't have some little activity where one is the big jobs and then one are the small, because there's a lot of
I'm with you. The building that
dissatisfaction.
this young lady moved into has a hole
I know.
on the side of it, that's big. And it's behind an electrical panel. To me, that's a safety issue, all right? And absolutely. Absolutely. These programs that we're going to try and institute and put in place have to be seamless, you know? Yes, ma'am.
Assuming we haven't had a whole lot of rain right now, what are we doing in the meantime? Because that is a whole wall. Black hole in my car. How do I keep that water going in?
Yeah, what I'd like to have done, and we'll talk about that here, is that get that addressed and cover that whole one, number one. And number two, get to where we need to address the rotted planks on that building. Now, recognize that work orders, in the past, there was a concept that if you're gonna do a building, you do the entire building. That's admirable. But you're not gonna hold the work order hostage, waiting on doing the entire building. I mean, that doesn't happen for another 6 months, 8 months, you know? And then you end up with damage. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this mediation, excuse me for not knowing about it, but did it terminate the pest control and the lawn maintenance?
No, the mediation had nothing to do with that. That's kind of a separate issue. The mediation agreement in the capsulized statement that I gave you required that the grounds and the buildings be managed by an outside company.
So there is pest control here?
That's part of it.
No, I mean currently, right now, today.
No, it's not written. It's not written in the
Okay, so
It's
if
one
I
of
called
those
someone,
elements.
hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna really care what y'all do with this. You're gonna answer all these questions eventually, everybody's asking these questions. I mean specifically today, if I wanted to call and get pest control, who do I do that with?
Call the CAM team, our management company.
Okay, so call the CAM team. And then the second issue was, who is managing the groundskeepers?
Well, that's the problem. No one.
Because
Today,
any idiot anywhere knows you don't trim all of the bushes off when they're in bloom because it'll kill them.
you'll never have a growth.
I'm just speaking from an agricultural point of view. That does kill them.
There is no oversight today. Part of the management, RFP, there will be oversight because the management company has signed up, both of them that I talked to, will sign up for being responsible for their vendors and the quality of the work.
And my example is, at my company, the pest control people, they come once a month.
Well, and I called the pest control people the other day, because I called all seasons, because that's who we use, where I didn't know anything different. They go, we don't service you anymore, so I emailed Cam, or whoever I had to email, and so she said, no, we use so-and-so, you have to call them. So I called them, and they would test somebody. So I called, and they go, well, we only are gonna do the outside, and I said, wait a minute, I said, we're supposed to be able to have them come in free of charge. She said there'd be a charge, and then we come in, if I wanted to come in, and I said, that's not right.
In a minute when we finish.
I said, that's not what
Well,
we signed up
you know, I
for.
mentioned that we're gonna have several projects that each board member will be responsible for managing.
Ms.
And,
Davis was,
yeah, I will get to you in a minute. Responsible for managing. Pest control will be one of those projects. But that has to be put on the management company. So, hey, you gotta go out and you gotta get me a management company that does A, B, C, and D.
Right.
Outside, inside, upside down, I don't care. If it's in there, that's what I want. That's gonna be up to one of the managers within the board of directors to manage that project to its completion, then move on to another project. Somebody wants to paint the lines in the parking lot. Excuse me. How do we do that? I know, we've got two
I'd
people
like to
that have
recognize
questions.
her.
You have a question first?
Yeah, I do. The sprinkler system is still down, right? Irrigation?
It's another project.
We're not gonna have to worry about the bushes after logs are all dead.
The azaleas are
We're
dying.
not gonna have to
I
worry
know.
about trimming.
That's another project.
But did you answer up on the landscaping?
Yeah, and the landscaping, you do have to trim the bushes after they bloom, you
Correct.
trim them back.
Correct.
Because that's what gets them to grow back and get full.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
what you
after they
have-
grow.
Yeah, after they bloom.
Unfortunately, what you have today is a mulching company. They run mowers over everything.
Yeah, well, there's nobody out there watching now.
That's what you got.
There's nobody out there controlling it, so.
Listen, high profile, they've been doing job for years. They're not good.
No.
So that issue has been around for a while. Now what we want to do is turn on that dime. Let's get away from it. Right? We had a question.
A follow-up to this gentleman about the pest control. What do we do tomorrow if we want someone to come in and he said that he called or she did? So what do we do? I'd like to know.
Did you call the camp?
Yes, and she told me, in fact, I called him and they sent me the website, and like I said, I don't know what it was, pest something. And so I called them, and very nice lady, I think her name was Tracy, she said, I'll be handling your account. She said, but give me a week because we're in, and I said, well, maybe I need, because, I don't call, but every so often to have them come inside, because they spray outside. But
Well, that's a concern that's shared by other homeowners that I've
Yes.
talked to, okay?
it should be,
Larry's
and
gonna address
it was
both of
supposed to
those
be
questions
in our,
with the pest control.
in our HOA.
Alright. There was
Not
another
expert.
question here.
The question I have is, I think communication is a big problem between the board and everyone else. And the fact that we feel like, one person, two people, whoever is making the decision for everyone. And how do we solve that? I mean, will you start putting out a survey? Will you start, I like the idea that you're saying company A, B, and C, presenting it to us, and then, sharing the decision. That I love. I feel like it should be the same thing with the pest control, it should be the same thing with the maintenance.
Well, I just mentioned that we were going to assign projects to the board of directors. That board of director will be responsible for managing the statement of work for pest control.
I mean, I think the idea is great, and I give you kudos for it, but the thing is, there are people that have been here, I've only been here a year, so, but there have been people here for 20 years that they've heard this, and that's all
No,
they're
I don't
like.
think so, not quite like this, and I beg to differ with you and challenge you on that, because for the time that I've been here, I've never seen that kind of movement.
I hope you're right, because what people are, I think, losing hope about is that they hear a lot of talk, they hear it, and then nothing changes.
I'm a person that does not engage in blogs. Don't have the time for that. Okay? Everybody's gonna have an opinion. Some will agree with you, some will not. Okay? But they're not sitting on the board and they're not managing the program, at least trying to manage the program to make the community better. And I don't like to engage with hearsay or people that have an opinion on a certain topic. That's their opinion. I respect it.
But you have to also respect the fact that the board has not communicated with people, that's all they rely
I'm not
on.
arguing that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that at all. But you have a board that has now recently been reconstituted. And with that reconstitution comes all of this work that's being done to get the emotion out of the decision-making process.
Would you write communication next to your name?
Sir.
My question is, according to the state statutes, if there is supposed to be a meeting, right, and I'll use the pest control there, out of the clear blue sky, a guy walks out and says, I want to spray your yard. And I said, well, excuse me, who in the hell are you?
Right.
Well, I'm a new guy that's been hired. I said, how could anybody hire you? There's never been a quorum. We haven't had a
That
quorum.
goes to the communication issue. And you're
Well,
absolutely right.
I've never
It'd be nice
seen,
to get a
I have
phone
never
call.
seen a board member walk our property. Because if they did, I can show you 5 buildings that are close to being condemned. The Knuckles is one of them because they have a child. Their balconies have got holes in it. Now, if that baby falls through there, you ain't got enough insurance in this community.
Well, with that kind of,
No, I'm being honest.
with that kind of knowledge, then I would challenge you to be part of a team of people that would.
I was on the board,
No, wait a minute.
and I will
Board
not
of
be on it
directors,
again.
Identify what those are so that they can be part of the overall maintenance plan.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
If you do not choose camp, will you have access to prior work orders that you?
Yes, there's going to be a 30-day transition period, June 1st, June 30th. And there's a list of items that the individual management companies will require. A lot of them financial, a lot of them work orders that are open and closed, things of that nature. So yes, that'll be part of the transition. Now that transition is going to be handled by the management team we hire. We're not going to be doing the transition other than making sure that we help facilitate getting that information transferred. Payment schedule, all of that.
Personally, I'd like to see management companies do is store electronic versions of all the records in a orderly manner that can be accessible. And I'd like to see that on a cloud, that we control the cloud is something that contains all the records, okay? And it can be secured and it can be transferred. And we should own all of those documents on something like a cloud. Where transferring them would be no problem. And be accessible by intelligently arrayed folders in such a way that we get a good access to these records. On a building by building basis, I'd like to see all buildings records, for the units in the building in one folder. How about you? Absolutely. That should be the.
And one of the proposals from a management standpoint has an opportunity to provide a portal, which is an access to their data or your data within their system for each of the board of directors that need access to. No getting around the fact that we get into it, but you don't hold the data to your chest. You disseminate the data. So that people understand.
All systems should be portable to another vendor. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I had. I want to thank you for your attention.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
In my line of work, I deal with a lot of different performances of different products, vehicles, different things. They commonly use one called crystal reports. So I don't know the people that you look trustworthy. I'm not saying we don't trust you, but
I'm familiar with crystal reports. It's a Microsoft-based reporting system, and it allows you to machinate and change data, manipulate data any which way you want. One of the things that this system, which is a Microsoft-based system, that one of the bidders has, is that it allows you to take the work orders, as an example, and sort them by category. You want to know, if you're in the automotive industry, how many wheels will be replaced this year? Sure. Right? Well, they'll be able to do that with how many plumbers that we have to call out. Because one of the tasks that I'm going to ask one of the board of directors to do is to put together a presentation of the economy of scale. Right? If you know you're going to do 5 roofs this year, and you know you're going to go out to 3 vendors, then there has to be an economy of scale.
Sure. So you'll have a future drink sheet.
That's called leverage. You look at it. Yeah.
Sounded good.
Thank you.
I have one last question.
Good job.
Is there any way that on the website or something for either new homeowners that you could put up things for like common questions, big tree and things like that. When I first moved in, I got information from 2 board members that told me that I did not need insurance, I needed condo insurance. It went round and round and round, and then I went to Cam. Cam had no idea at all about the insurance. I went back to the 2 board members, they both told me again that I didn't need insurance. So basically, I didn't have insurance for 3 months. It was actually Bill Jaspers that told me I needed insurance. So then I went back to Cam, gave them the information, they finally found the person, and then found out that I needed more insurance. And I know that some people here are under another understanding that they don't really need insurance until things change.
Well, I will say one thing, that in any property that I've ever owned, if it's deeded, it's your responsibility to insure it.
Okay, can we clarify this, because it just,
No,
it's the same thing
I don't
over and
have the
over.
answer for you.
We don't
I don't have an answer. I'm not an
own the roof.
insurance specialist, and I didn't stay in a Motel 6 last night.
An individual, no resident in here can insure the entire building. They can't, it's not even possible.
I think it's very
The
tricky.
HOA that we have, with the money that we pay, should be able to provide some sort of casualty insurance
And you're
on
basing that
the overall building structure.
What financial structure are you basing that on? Cost?
What do you mean?
How much does the insurance cost?
I don't know, because I haven't
But you
solicited
made a
any
lot of
bids.
statements.
But what I do know is that we have 0 insurance on these buildings, that we're paying $224 a month
Any of that,
to
research.
fix and repair. Although if a tornado or what have you comes today, there is 0 insurance. We have no money to repair the buildings, and
If you want a cost quote from an insurance company, then that project can be assigned to a project manager. You go out and get a cost quote on what it would take to do that. And then that will be passed on to you and the rest of the homeowners that said, okay, this is what you want, this is what it costs.
shouldn't that have been included in our budget?
I don't know, you were part of the group last year. It wasn't included then.
I'm sorry, but as a Larry Kahn unauthorized me to do any work.
Please, let's just don't have those fights in here. Let's stop it.
I don't know why
One more-
she can't talk.
It's not a question of clarification, and please forgive me, I've 30 years, not trying to be one over the shit. 30 years in real estate. The difficult part is understanding the difference between a fee simple, which is what makes our community so complicated, is because we are not an official condo. We are in a single family, basically, with 4 attached walls, which makes us an HOA, not a COA.
But it nonetheless doesn't matter.
No, hold on,
We-
I'll acknowledge
Can we
you.
put this issue on the parking lot here? All right? Because it's tying up a lot of people that may want to hear it, may not want to hear it. You guys want to argue it.
It's extremely complicated.
It is.
There are party walls involved between each unit that could essentially tell you that you're actually 4 different units. Okay?
In one building.
In other words, you own the roof down to the floor, separated by a party wall. Okay? So, and the insurance is extremely complicated. Now, I could come up with what I think is a great insurance policy for me, and I could say, okay, I think this is the greatest insurance policy. Okay, you buy the insurance policy, and then something doesn't happen right with that. I can't be the expert. And that's the problem, I think.
Well,
How do we
Can we put
congratulate,
that in the parking lot?
advise people to buy insurance?
Yes.
I just wanted to know if you could answer my question. Is there any way we can set up on the website that we can ask questions and have them answered, and then let's say a month down the road, Tracy moves in, wants to know a question and rolls down this website and it's like, oh, number 3, that answers my
They
question.
normally have it frequently asked, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that could happen, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to move along. Part of the reason that this is all being done the way it's said is we really haven't had a board. said at the end of the last year, we had 1 or 2 people. We voted in 7 people, and we had 2 people, no quorum. So we really haven't a board, we're starting over.
You're just making
So-
excuses, Larry.
Oh, be quiet.
You had a board last year, you had
Yeah,
a board
right.
this year, the problem is, you're the one that
Be
needs to
quiet.
Stop.
You wanna make me?
God. Nobody wants to make you, baby.
Hold on.
Well, something important that we need to deal with, one of the major reasons that we lost 5 of the board members was because we didn't have D&O coverage, directors and officers coverage, to cover the MSA and the prior lawsuits, and we had a threatened lawsuit that come up, so everyone was concerned that they were going to be sued personally. So that's a big...
Okay, I'd like to personally thank everybody here. I think we had a very good meeting.
I appreciate it, Jeff. We got to vote on this. We got to have our insurance approved.
Okay, well, let's present that as the issue.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Come. If you pull out your file, there's in the handout, there's a sheet titled Victory Insurance Policy. The policy we have now is with Northfield Insurance, is on the left. It has those exclusions, which leave the board members liable for anything in any way related to any MSA or anything that happened before us. When they're a suit, even if we won the suit, the board members would have problems paying their legal fees. So we got quotes. I had a bunch of agents working on it. We have the best policy we got is with Lloyd's of London, an A+ rated company. The coverage is excellent. We got aggregate, $2 million in aggregate general liability, plus a $1 million umbrella policy. The D&O insurance has absolutely no exclusions, and that's been double checked by our attorney. His brother is an insurance agent as well, so they discussed it at length with the agent. I'm not an insurance expert. I read through the proposals fine and have been assured that there are absolutely no loopholes or exclusions, that they're full coverage. On top of that, it's less than a quarter of the cost of what we've currently been paying. So it's like a $20,000 savings to Victory. And they're waiting for our approval to actually, they have to have a Victory vote before we can actually make the policy effective.
Why don't we have insurance on the buildings?
We went round and round on at least at 2 other board
Well, let's
meetings,
go
and we were
round
told.
again. Why are
We don't want to go around again,
something that
jerk.
we have no insurance
So you
on?
find out how to do it, and then you let us know.
Can we
Why don't you find out? You're president of the board.
I'd like to ask some questions of everybody. I'd like to ask a question of you.
Oh,
Would you mind if I ask you a question? Okay.
Well, that lady was speaking on it.
oh.
Okay. What I'd like to ask you
Wait,
is...
what conversation is going on? Is it Louise or you?
Oh, I think we've done.
No,
Okay, so Louise?
I'd like to ask this question.
Oh, it's me? Okay.
Me. I'd like
You
to
were
ask-
speaking.
God.
Yeah, well, would you...
I just wasn't sure, are the members voting on this, or we just?
No, just the board.
Pardon?
On the,
No, the board is voting on this. We need to have the policy effective.
But no,
The board members that we have,
no, my question is, are the members voting on, or we just?
no.
No.
It's only the board that votes on it. The board that votes on it.
when is the old policy called collapse?
Well, it will be canceled
With effect?
with the effect of
I'd like to ask
and
you...
they're waiting to schedule.
If
They
you would
briefed.
tolerate us deferring this decision to the next meeting.
I just walked in because I didn't want to have to listen to the whole first part of this meeting. So I'm not quite sure what
Big
you're
of her.
asking.
Would you tolerate us deferring this D&O policy decision to the next meeting?
Why?
No.
Why?
Yeah, you're leaving board members liable.
Now, the minute you do that, you stop this process. The RFP process stops.
That's crazy. I mean, we got a A+ rated company that's guaranteed coverage. And so we need to vote. All in favor? Aye. D&O coverage is approved.
Let's get the board up here.
How much is the D&O coverage, Larry?
The D&O coverage is $1 million plus $1 million.
Costing Victory.
So the total premium for all the coverage is $6,744, okay? End of story.
And they don't provide any insurance for the building?
No, none of the policies do. Relative to the pest control issue, let me just speak very briefly because we gotta be out of here in 10 minutes for the why, because they close at 9 and they need time to clean up and shut down. We did change to Pest Express. There's things we had to do. Cam submitted a proposal to me with several quotes and a strong recommendation that all seasons, they didn't even have a valid signed contract with them. We either had to negotiate a new contract or go with the company. Cam has 8 communities with Pest Express. They claim for years they've never had a complaint or a problem. They highly recommend them. Pest Express says their external spraying works and you don't need, I don't know, I'm not a pest, you don't need, let me finish, okay?
What chemicals are being used? Why does, I mean,
God.
this matter?
Can I finish?
I don't know, Larry, you've probably been standing up here talking for the past.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. You got it wrong.
He hasn't?
The bottom line is they recommended that we only do the external. There are concerns that it may not work effectively. We can't add the interior coverage and still be $500 below what all seasons have. They recommended we wait at least a month, and if homeowners have complaints, let us know. We'll add the unlimited interior spraying as well, and it'll still be saving Victory money.
When I called, they said $60 for it.
Say what?
$60.
Yeah, but she's can have it all for nothing, okay?
Yeah, but you can get it for nothing.
Well, the interior treatment as well. Listen.
Oh, then you actually got them to say that you need to drink.
Yeah, for less, $500 less than all seasons, they'll do both. They're just saying it's not necessary.
They say, they
No, but I called the board and said
I think that people would feel more comfortable if it was sprayed, they had that option.
Yes.
I don't have any objection to that one way or another. I mean, I want what everybody's happy with and what's gonna work. The experts told me you didn't need it. Cam is saying we've had for years 8 communities, no problems.
But you're saying
So
the pest
change it.
control company-
Change it. Change it for the inside to be done and make everybody happy, that's all.
Well, fine. We'll
If it's
go ahead.
costing more, it costs
Change it
more.
then. All in favor of voting to change the policy to include the interior spray?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Pardon?
How many estimates did you get from how many different
They're
companies?
saying they
How
want
many estimates did you get, Larry?
4.
4?
Yeah.
And
They were the cheapest?
Pardon?
Were they the cheapest? Was they-
Yes.
Well, you know, they chose cheapest, didn't the greatest.
Pardon?
you chose the cheapest?
And the best coverage, I'm told, the best company as well. Okay?
That's what they told me.
If the homeowners want us to vote to add the unlimited interior spraying, I'm certainly willing to put it up for a vote and do it.
Do it.
All in
Yes.
favor? Aye.
Yes. Everybody wants it.
Okay, it's a done deal. I'll get to it tomorrow.
Well, actually, the way that was presented by the as they were doing it,
We don't have money to fix our building.
Hey, Larry, make a motion that the meeting's over.
Pardon?
Make a motion. Let's
Okay,
go.
make a motion that the meeting.
Yes, second.